everybody, Natalie here, and I am so long overdue to do some sort of a wrap-up. I have not done a wrap-up since September, so I'm going to be calling this my fall wrap-up, since we'll be talking about the books I read in October, November, and most of December, which added up to 20 books, which sounds impressive, but when you break it up over 3 months, I'm like, it's like 6.5-ish books. Not all that impressive, but I definitely wanted to share with you what I've read. I'm kind of kicking myself now going, you're going to be so exhausted when this video is over, since I'm sharing 20 books with you. Hopefully we can get through this together. Luckily, you guys don't have to be here the whole time because of the beauty of editing. Oh my gosh, guys. I don't know what I was thinking. I gotta power through this, so I gotta power through. So we don't have a lot of time. Let's just jump into it and do it right now. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is not going to be super organized, meaning these books are not going to be talked about in the order that I read them. In fact, I just was gathering all the books I read and then wrote down the names and then, made my little notes so I could remember who the main characters and whatnot were. So the first book I'm going to show you is actually one of the last books that I read. And you're going to know that because it was in the 20 YA novels I need to read that I posted a couple of weeks ago. So I'm still going to show you the 20 books. I can't tell you when necessarily I read them, but doesn't matter. Let's just get into it. So the first book I read was Atlantia. Like I said, it was one of the YA novels that I really needed to read because it had been on my bookshelf forever. Our main character in this is Rio. Rio and her twin live in this underwater city because we're in a time where I guess above is become really polluted, and so they try to send as many people as they can to live in this underwater city, even though it's not doing very well. And I guess that when they turn about 18 or 17 or 18, they get to make the decision whether they want to go live above or stay under, in this underwater city. Rio and her twin, even though Rio wants to go above, her twin is like, no, let's stay together because I want to stay below. And then when the day comes, she changes her mind and is like, no, I'm going above. And it's too late because Rio has already chosen below. Like, it's a whole ceremony. So her sister goes, she doesn't know why she's left, so she's left with that mystery. She knows that she's a siren and she's had to keep that secret. Her mother had died mysteriously not soon before this big, decision-making thing she had to do. And the only one she really has to talk to is her aunt, who she knows is not trustworthy, but is also a siren. And I know that sounds really exciting. It was okay. I gave it, 3.5 stars. As I was reading it, I was enjoying it. Some parts were really exciting and some parts were like, eh. Like I said, it was an okay. I'm going to go ahead and stick with it. It was a 3-star read. You might like it if you like underwater cities. You might not. You're not missing anything if you miss this book, but it's not a bad book if you happen to see it. I know. I don't know. Am I talking you into it or out of it? I don't know. It was okay. All right, the next book I'm going to talk about is The Bone Houses. This has a main character named Rin. Her and her family are grave diggers, but in the town that they live in, people don't necessarily stay dead, and sometimes their bodies kind of rise and kind of like zombies, I guess, sort of a little bit. It doesn't happen too often, but when it happens, she has to deal with it, and those are called bone houses. But then the second main character, Ellis, when he arrives to the town, he kind of comes and says, I'm a map maker and that's why I'm here. But when he comes to the town, all of a sudden, like, so many bone houses start, rising, and they're starting to get really, really aggressive. So her and Ellis end up going deep into the mountains to find the source and history of why there are bone houses to begin with. I gave this book 4 stars. I thought it was pretty good. It had a few parts that were a little bit slow for me, but I thought the character development was really good. It had some really cute and funny parts as well, and I thought the story idea was really original, and I did really enjoy it. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a 4-star and tell you, yeah, this is a good one. If you see it, I would definitely say pick it up. During the fall, I read 2 Natasha Preston books. I'm going to show you 2 books at once because I'm a magician. No, I'm going to show you 2 books because I have 2 hands. Awake and The Cellar. And one of these was a 5-star read and one of these was a 3-star read. Let's start with the 5-star, shall we? And that would be the book Awake. I think this is my favorite Natasha Preston book so far. Now, if you're not familiar with Natasha Preston, she does YA mystery mystery thriller type books. These are not really like hard books to read, or, you know, you're not going to, you know, gain a immaculate vocabulary by reading these. These are what I call guilty reads. They're really fun, just fun to get through, you know, not deep, you know, writing. But this was my favorite story so far. So in this one, our main character is named Scarlett, and she literally has no memory before the age of 4. But then she's in a car accident. She's not badly hurt, but she gets a bump to the head, and all of a sudden she starts getting these really, really weird memories of, you know, like, she feels like, you know, she's in a house that's burning up, and she's a little kid, and people are trying to, you know, stab her, and just crazy, crazy stuff. So in the book, she is trying to unfold what really happened before the age of 4, and why doesn't she remember it. And this was really fun. I'm not going to say it was deep or like one of the best books I've ever read. I'm giving it 5 stars because I just absolutely enjoyed reading it. It was just a fun ride. Now, the other one, The Cellar, I only gave this one 3 stars. It wasn't as much as a fun ride for me. In this one, our main character is Summer. She is kidnapped and put down in a cellar with a few other girls. They're all having to go by flower names. She's called Lily. And it's just how the girls deal with being, you know, kidnapped by a crazy man. And, you know, how, you know, eventually, you know, they try to rescue them. And it wasn't, to me, I'm like, I've read so many books about people being kidnapped. In fact, Natasha Preston, this is not the first book she's written where she has the main character being kidnapped and held. So I was like, you know, this isn't that original for me. Plus, I'm not really into books that much about people being kidnapped and held against their will for, I mean, it's kind of sad. You feel like you've been kidnapped along with them. And it's like, this isn't fun. I don't like being kidnapped and stuck in a cellar. So, I mean, it was okay. Natasha Preston, like I said, I enjoy her guilty pleasure writing, but it was only a 3-star. You know, if I hadn't read this book, it would have been okay. You're going to be fine if you never read it as well. But I do recommend the other one, Awake. All right, next, let's talk about the Leaf Reader. I can't remember if it was Owlcrate or LitJoy, but this was an optional add-on book one month, and I knew it was a YA mystery thriller. It was a short book, and I said, well, why not? Our main character is Marnie, and she's a bit of an outsider at school until she finds this old book, which basically is all about tea leaf reading. And so she starts kind of doing it for fun. Some of the more popular kids kind of get a little bit interested, you know, and come see her. And even though she's basically just following the book, like she'll see a symbol in the cup and she'll look in the book and be like, okay, it says that this might mean this and this. And she doesn't really believe in it. She just thinks it's a lot of fun. And, you know, the fact that she's got, you know, kids who are, you know, giving her a little bit more attention is also fun. But then she ends up doing a reading for the basketball star of the school. And he's telling her that he's getting weird emails from his girlfriend who disappeared like a year ago and is presumed dead. And she starts doing these tea leaf readings, and she starts getting really weird, you know, messages, and she starts thinking maybe this stuff is legit. So for being a really short book, it had a really great story, had a really great mystery to be solved, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. If you get the chance, I do suggest you pick it up, and you can read it in one afternoon. So there you go. All right, the next book I read, and you knew I was going to read it, this should be of no shock, is I read Before the Devil Breaks You, the 3rd book in the Diviners. I thought it was a trilogy. The last time we had a conversation, I said it was a trilogy. It is not a trilogy. There's going to be a 4th book, I believe, coming up in February, and then I think it's going to, I don't know what it's called when there's 4 books, but I believe that will be it. There are going to be 4 books in this series. I'm going to call it a series. In this book, the Diviners end up spending some time in an insane asylum that's having some weird paranormal, I don't know, phenomena. I don't know what else to call it. And at the same time in this book, which I really enjoyed, is we get to learn a lot about why are there diviners in the first place. So we have a lot of origin story in this book, which is really great because it really sets it up for the final concluding book where we can, like, you know, end the story. Even though I don't want the story to end, it is so great. But, you know, it's time to end. These are really big books, and, you know, we need to come to a conclusion. So, guys, I cannot tell you enough. You really need to pick up the Diviners books. They're wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. This is the 3rd book, and they just keep getting better and better. Obviously, I gave this one 5 stars. The next book should also be of no shock. I read the concluding book in the trilogy Renegades, Supernova, and I absolutely loved it. We have another 5-star here. In fact, I give the whole trilogy 5 stars. For the few of you out there who might not really understand what the Renegades are, or maybe you haven't heard of it, really quickly, it's a trilogy about superheroes, but it's different superheroes that are trying to come to power. And our main character is Nova, who is on one side, and she kind of becomes a mole, and she infiltrates the Renegades, who are the superheroes who are in power. And when I say in power, like, the superheroes are in charge of the whole government. They're like, they rule the United States. And she infiltrates, and she, it's a whole story about, trying to figure out which side is really the good side. Is there really a good side or not? She ends up, developing a relationship with the Renegades, and of course that puts her in flux of like, what should I do? It's just an amazing book, and I'm telling you guys, if you're sitting there going, I don't like the Marvel movies, I don't like superhero movies, it does not matter. You guys cannot like those movies and still love these books. If you just love amazing characters who happen to have some, superpowers, I'm telling you, these are really great books. The Renegades trilogy, and now all 3 of them are out. So unlike me, you can actually read 3 of them, and you can read them all in a row. So I highly suggest you do it. All right, next I read The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. I adore Ruth Ware. I've read every single book that she's written. I just think she's an absolute great mystery thriller writer. Our main character is Rowan, and she ends up taking a job as this live-in nanny at this house that is paying just outrageous, way too much money that you would expect for a live-in nanny to make. And it's in one of those smart houses, that can like turn the temperature and the lights and has special alarms, and I don't know. I don't think I'd want my house that set up. But anyway, it's one of those houses. And just weird stuff starts happening. And the book is told from the perspective that she is writing a letter to a lawyer because she is in prison because one of the children died technically under her care under very mysterious circumstances, and she's trying to explain to the lawyer, look, I didn't do this. Weird stuff happened since the day I walked in. This is all the weird stuff that happened. Please help me. And I can't say it's my favorite Ruth Ware book, but I definitely gave it 4 stars. I'm very glad I read it. I recommend this book, and I recommend Ruth Ware in general. Like I say, anytime she has a book coming out, I'm going to read it. All right, the next book I'm going to tell you about is I Hope You Get This Message. This is a kind of YA, I don't know, I would say YA contemporary. I mean, I guess you could kind of say it has a sci-fi element. Because this is a book about Earth finding out that an alien planet has said, in 7 days, we're pretty sure we're gonna eradicate you. So it's, people dealing with the end of the world. But I say contemporary because for the most part, we're just dealing with people who are dealing with the end of the world. We don't have a bunch of sci-fi things happening. That's why it's kind of hard for me to say it's sci-fi, even though, yes, there are aliens. So this book is following 3 main characters during this week. The first character is Jesse. He's not really a happy person. He kind of feels like he's been dealt kind of one bad blow after the other. He ends up doing some shady things in order to make money because his mother is really running out of money. And you might be going, well, it's the end of the world. Who cares? You got to realize that I'm pretty sure, they don't say it, but I'm pretty sure at this time they are implying that Donald Trump is president and that it's in current times so a lot of people are thinking this might not even be real. Like the news is reporting that the end of the world is coming, but maybe it's not, maybe this is a hoax, who knows? So people, even though they know that the end of the world is coming, they're still kind of living in a way that, what if it doesn't? I still need to prepare. At least Jesse's character is. Then we have another main character named Kate, who her mother is very psychologically ill, but she wants to find her father who she's never met. And so her mother ends up having to be put into a hospital, and she decides to use this time to try to find her father who, like I said, she's never met. And she ends up teaming up with the third main character, Adim, who is looking for his sister. He and his sister had a big falling out and a big misunderstanding, and she kind of took off, and he was very angry that she took off, but now he wants to find her so that they can put things back together and, figure out, what's going on, and basically, make amends with his sister, just in case this is the end of the world. I know this sounds like a fabulous book. To me, it was only maybe a 2.5, maybe, I don't know, I might go as far as to give it 3 stars, but it was only okay. Like, it was one of those books that I was reading it that there were a lot of times I just got really bored where I'd be like, what did I just read for the last 4 pages? I just felt they could have done a little bit more, made it a little bit more exciting. I don't know. This just was not maybe the book for me. And I'm listening to other booktubers who are also saying that this wasn't the best book for them as well. So I'm not going to highly recommend this book. It was only okay to me. Speaking about books that are only okay, I also read Little Darlings. I have been so excited about this book. I heard about it early spring as a mystery thriller. The main character is Lauren. She gives birth to twin sons, and while she's in the hospital, this weird creepy lady comes and wants to exchange her creepy monstery looking twins with hers, and she freaks out and gets away from the woman, and then nobody believes that this has happened, and even she starts to think, okay, maybe I was exhausted, she did just give birth to twins and she's on medication, maybe I imagined it, maybe I hallucinated, until a few months later when the twins go missing for a few hours, and when they are returned, and it seems like they are returned safely, she knows something isn't right, and she realizes these are this crazy woman's monstery twins, even though they look like her twins. So anyway, I had to take a brief pause since the FedEx guy showed up and my dog went crazy. So anyway, she can just tell that those are not her sons. And it sounded so amazing. And the paper traveler even told me that it was only okay when I saw her wrap up when she read it. Guys, at the end of this book, I was still confused exactly what even went down. Like, there was some twist at the end where I'm thinking, oh, okay, I see where it's going. And then it would twist again. And then it twisted so many times. I'm like, at the end, I'm like, I'm kind of confused. Like, I'm not even really sure what happened. And I think I'm a pretty smart person, so I don't know. I don't like books that I'm just confused. I'm just really confused. I don't know what's going on. I wanted a clear answer of what went down in this book, and I still don't know. So if you've read this book and you felt like you got a clear answer, please tell me what you thought that answer was, because I thought it was so just, I don't know, confusing as mess. So that's all I had to say about this one. I also read in the last few months the two Shay Earnshaw books. I read The Wicked Deep and I read Winterwood. Let's start with The Wicked Deep, which I have to say I absolutely loved, and so many booktubers out there who I watch regularly and I trust your opinions did not like this book. And I don't know why, guys. Why did you like this book? I don't understand. Our main character is Penny. She lives in this cursed town of Sparrow, where a couple hundred years ago, 3 sisters were drowned in the sea, being accused of being witches. And supposedly every summer, their spirits come onto the land and possess girls who end up drowning boys. So you have these boys, who end up getting drowned every summer. And Penny has the ability, we learn pretty early on, she knows which girls are possessed. And what makes it even worse for her is this new guy that she really likes has just come into town, and she wants to protect him from these girls who are possessed by these, sisters' spirits. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought the writing was really great. The atmosphere was really great. The characters were really great. So, yeah, I gave this 5 stars, guys. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. All right, now let's talk about Winterwood. Winterwood also had really great writing and great atmosphere and great characters, and it had a bit of mystery, which The Wicked Deep had mystery in it as well. I didn't tell you everything that was going on, obviously. The problem was the biggest mystery of all in this book. Well, let me tell you what the mystery was, and then you guys, So our main character is Nora Walker. She comes from this long line of witches who live near these woods, I guess, that are kind of enchanted in some way. And she comes across this boy named Oliver who has been missing for 2 weeks, and she finds him in the middle of the woods, and he doesn't know what's happened during those 2 weeks, let alone how he's survived those 2 weeks. And there were actually multiple mysteries in this book, and I just figured out almost all of them, which, I love mystery thriller, but the great thing about mystery thriller is, turning that page and reading and going, oh, what? Which I had that experience with The Wicked Deep, with Winterwood, as the mysteries were unfolding. I was like, well, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I figured. So, I gave it 3 stars because I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the writing. I think that, what's her name? Yeah, Shay Earnshaw. I think she writes beautifully and her characters are great, but I think she should have been a little bit more mysterious with Winterwood. I also read another Lisa Jewell book. One of my favorite books of the year. I don't know if it's going to go on for the year, but when I did the top 15 books of 2019 so far, I think it was And Then She Was Gone was the name of the book. I was like, oh, I want to read some more Lisa Jewell. Well, I did. I picked up this one called I Found You. And this was really interesting because it was multiple stories going on at once that obviously towards the end started to come together. First, we have Alice, who finds this man outside she lives at the beach, and she finds this man sitting on the beach in front of her house. And when she approaches him, because he's basically sitting outside all day in the rain, and she's approaching him going, "Sir, are you okay?" He's like, "I have absolutely no memory of who I am or how I got here." And even though it's not the safest decision to make, she ends up bringing him in, and she's trying to help him figure out who he is. Then we have another character, Lily, who lives in the suburbs of London, and she's a newlywed, and her husband has gone missing, and nobody seems to know where he is, and since she's a newlywed and she's not from there, she didn't get to meet like his family or friends. She doesn't know who to turn to, and it almost looks like this guy didn't even exist to begin with. So, she's having to deal with that, which is absolutely crazy. And then our third story is 23 years back, and it's happening in the same beach town that Alice is living in currently. And it's about these teenagers, Gray and Kirsty, who are teenage brother and sister, who are going on their summer vacation. And this guy starts paying a lot of attention to Kirsty, and he's just giving Gray really bad vibes. Like something's off with this guy. And so you have all three stories going on at the same time. And like I said, and I thought they came together really well. I would love to read some more Lisa Jewell. I gave this one 4 stars, which I think is a very high rating. I did give her other book 5 stars, but that one made me cry a little bit. So that's why that one got 5 stars. But I really did enjoy this one. I really do recommend Lisa Jewell as an author, especially if you enjoy mystery thrillers. Also, not a shock. Well, maybe not a shock, because I don't know if I announced it or not, but I knew The Toll was coming, and I was like, I've only read Scythe. So I read Thunderhead, and I gave this one 5 stars. Oh, I love Scythe. I really did. But this one was even better to me. We're living, I won't say dystopian, because to me it's a utopian. We figured out where you can basically live forever. You can't really die, because even if you fall off a building, they can pretty much revive you. If you break a bone, your body will automatically start releasing opiates into your system in order to kill the pain. We are so advanced, but we do have to control the population, which is why we have the Scythes, who have to unfortunately take a few people out, which is what the first book was about. The second book was dealing more with the fact that we are, I don't know if this is supposed to be, yeah, this is supposed to be Earth. We are now being ruled by something called the Thunderhead. It's like a computer system that's become sentient, but it really does know what is best for humanity. It's not mean. It really wants humans to do well and to survive, but it also has to stay separate from the Scythedom. And so there's a lot of political intrigue in this book. It's super exciting. I mean, just so many twists and turns, and it was wonderful. And I'm so excited. I cannot wait to get into The Toll, because Thunderhead, and those of you who have read it know, when you read those last couple pages, your breath is just taken away. It ends on a major cliffhanger. So, and I am so excited to read this. It's a big one. I hope to have it read by December, or at least over the Christmas break. Soon. I hope to read it soon. I'm a little nervous because some people have just been like, wow, this book was so amazing, and I just can't stop thinking about it. And then some people have not really liked it so much and have said, I don't like where the story went. So I'm like, I'm nervous. I hope I'm one of those people who like it. I really do, because the first 2 were so great. I also, during this time, picked up the third Twin. This is a YA mystery thriller. This is also what I would say, not like a super deep read. It's more of a guilty pleasure fun read, but it was a fun ride. I enjoyed it. In this book, we have the set of twins, Lexi and Ava, who, since they were little girls, they created this third twin they named Alicia, almost like an imaginary friend. If a dish got broken or something, happened like that, they would be like, we didn't do it, Alicia did it. It kind of became like a funny thing. But then as they got older, or, you know, if they wanted to go out and be outrageous. Sometimes they'll use Alicia as like a fake name to go out, and they'll pretend, you know, they'll date guys and they'll go to parties and they'll be kind of different from themselves, kind of like stepping out of their own person to be somebody else. And they both use Alicia as a fake, and they lie to a lot of people and say that she's like, you know, they're triplets and they're not really twins. And most of their close friends know. I'm talking about like when they go further out of town, they do this to people. But then people start showing up dead, and it looks like that Alicia did it. And remember, Alicia's imaginary. And it's crazy because it's very obvious that neither one of the twins could have done it, but yet their DNA is there. So they're like, and people are saying, yeah, it was a chick named Alicia. So it was a fun ride. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars just because it was a guilty pleasure, just fun ride. It wasn't a brilliant piece of literature. But if you like YA mystery thrillers that are just fun, I absolutely recommend going for it with this one. Now, the next 5 books I'm not going to go into super deep. I read Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, which I went over in my December Reese Witherspoon book club review, which I definitely recommend watching. I'm doing 5 books this month, and I'll be doing 5 books next month. So I talked about this one. This book I gave 5 stars and thought was wonderful, but you're gonna have to watch that video to hear more about it. And I also read The Secrets We Kept, which is also 5 stars and was absolutely wonderful. So please check out the December Reese Witherspoon book review. Really had a lot of great books to talk about in that video. And the last 3 books I'm not gonna be talking too much about because that's right, guys. I know I'm the biggest person who's like, I'm not a rereader. But I decided, guys, it had been so long since I read Harry Potter. I really wanted to read it again. I'd read the 3rd book way back for a readathon, and I enjoyed it, and it was just shocking to me as I was reading it going, gosh, it has been so long that it doesn't feel like a reread. I feel like I'm reading these books for the very first time because it's been years and years and years. I'm talking like 15 years probably. So I went back, I read The Sorcerer's Stone maybe a year ago as well. So I started with The Chamber of Secrets. So The Chamber of Secrets I read, I'm trying to do the math in my head. I'm not kidding, guys. I read this book 20 years ago. So shock of shocks, so much happened in this book that I have no memory of, which was great. So it didn't even feel like a reread. It was like all of a sudden it was like Harry Potter with extra, because for me, Harry Potter canon to me has become the movies. I've seen the movies over and over. I'm sure where you live is the same as where I live, where it seems like every weekend you can find a channel that is having a Harry Potter movie marathon. I mean, it is to the point now that my husband and I will have it on in the background when we're doing other things, and we will literally start, you know, saying lines from the movie. Like if there's 2 characters talking, I'll start saying the lines of one of the characters and he'll be saying the lines, because we've memorized the movies. And because those movies are in my head, I forgot how much happened in the books. And I'm so glad. So I read Chamber of Secrets. I skipped Prisoner of Azkaban since I'd already reread that. And especially, guys, when I jumped into Goblet of Fire, oh my gosh, I mean, really, it's like I'd never read this book before, and it was so great to be reading it, and it was like I got to read it for the first time again, because literally no memory of most of the stuff happening. And as I was telling my husband, I'm finishing up the 5th book. I think I've got like 10 pages left, which I'm sure I'll probably read after I finish filming and editing this. I said, you know, 80 to 85% of these books, especially these big old books, aren't even in the movie. I would love if maybe 10, 20, 30, not too far in the future. I mean, I don't want to be, you know, sitting in a nursing home in a diaper, but I mean, you know, if that's what I have to wait for, I have to wait for. I would love at some point in the future for them to go back and actually take these books and make them into a like Netflix series and I mean, there's so many characters that to me are new to me because I don't remember them. There's so many great characters. There's so many great just things that happen, events that happen that they obviously can't put in a 2-hour movie. And these books would just make an amazing series where, you know, like I said, each book could be 1 season, especially when we get to these bigger books. And they could just do a fabulous job. And I know because these movies are still rather, you know, recent, and now right now J.K. Rowling is busy doing the Fantastic Beasts. But, you know, maybe 20, 25, 30 years from now, you know, not too far in the future, I'd like to be around to actually watch these and, like I said, not be sitting in a diaper at a nursing home. But I would love it if someone would be like, hey, did you hear that they are remaking Harry Potter, but they're doing it as a series so that they can actually get in all those great details? Would that not be wonderful? I'm all for it. So I'm hoping that happens in my lifetime. I really do. I thought that would be great. So those are all the books I've been reading, and I'm still currently reading. I'm going to finish off the 6th and the 7th book, which, like I said, to me, I feel like I haven't read since it's been so long. And I have other videos coming soon. I have a triple unboxing that's going to be released because I got that Harry Potter LitJoy along with the regular book boxes. I'm going to be doing my best books of 2019, my worst books of 2019, and I might even break it down a little bit more by genre, the way that Reads with Kesara is doing. By the way, Reads with Kesara is doing an absolutely awesome job of taking like the best books of 2000 and the worst books of 2019 and breaking them down by genre. And I have been enjoying her series so much. She's been filming like 4 or 5 videos a week. They are wonderful. In fact, I will link her channel down in the description. I just have been loving those so much. So I'm not going to do as much as she has done because I just can't. I mean, she's just put so much work into it. But I am going to take a little bit of that and do a break it down by genre. I think a little bit, maybe like some best series. Maybe I might do one just with the best YA of 2019, something like that, just to share all the great books. And I also plan to do sometime in the first week or 2 of January my most anticipated 2020 releases, because they're already starting to drop, you know, the dates of some books that sound absolutely amazing. I am so excited for it. And I'm not just talking about sequels. I'm talking about just new books that are coming out that I've heard the synopsis and they sound amazing. So I also want to do one of those hopefully sometime in the early bit of January. But once again, I always say, please follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you guys so much for watching and letting me share what I've read with you. And I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday. I'll see y'all later.